Hey guys, it's me. I'm back with another Crock Pot this week. This week we're going to be doing Crock Pot, the original slow cooker, made by Betty Crocker. This is the cook and carry model, which comes with a lock, carry, and go style. I'm hoping that the box isn't totally lying to me because it says it has oversized handles. Okay, so I'm going to begin unboxing now. And just as a disclaimer, I've never worked with this kind of crock pot before. I have no idea what to expect, so all of my reactions will be genuine. Alrighty. So I'm opening it on the top, and right away I can see, as with most crock pots, we got some styrofoam and some plastic inside. Having a little bit of trouble getting it out. So we've got two pieces of styrofoam holding it in the box. I can already see that there is a cable. We'll see how long that is. Let's see. There's cardboard separating the crock pot itself from the stoneware basin. And here is the Betty Crocker crock, the original. So the lid we see has a rubber grip around the side, which makes sense with these sort of cook and carry models. You want it to seal really tightly whenever you're carrying it, especially if you've got it, in the back of your SUV, the back of your trailer, or if you have it in a backpack or something like that. You're going to want it to seal really tightly so that, whenever you get to the picnic area, you don't have a whole bunch of chili down your back. There are these two grips on the sides, and we'll see how well they actually clamp on. Okay, this is the owner's guide, and here we have a little instruction manual explaining how to lock the lid. Guess some people need that. I think I'll be all right. So now I've got the actual body of the crock pot itself. They've got some plastic on the plug here for safety. It's important to remember to take this off before you try to plug it in, or else it could start some sort of a fire. I'm pulling off the plastic now, and it does look like these handles are oversized, as it says in the box. So now I'm looking at the instructions in warnings inside the basin itself here in the main body of the crock pot. Looks like we've got 3 different languages: English, looks like French, and Spanish. I always like to check these because sometimes things get lost in translation here. It looks like they translated hazard in English to risque in French, so hopefully they know what that means. So now I'm looking at the outside of the crock pot. We've got 4 settings. So the off would be for when you want the crock pot to be off. Low would be when you just want a small amount of heat. High for a high amount of heat. Warm would be when you want something to be warmed. And then we've got a help hotline here, actually. It says questions, call this 1-800 number, or go to crockpot.com. But for those of you watching and listening, you don't have to, because I'm here. Ready? So now I'm going to first try putting the lid on. And it's pretty loose. I'm thinking that you would not want to keep the lid on here without the stoneware in here. So I'm going to take the lid back off now, and I'm going to try fitting the stone basin into the crock pot. Oh man, and it just fits like a glove. This is really why I love Betty Crocker's crock pots as opposed to other slow cooker imitations. These things fit together so well. Now I'm going to be putting the lid on, this time with the stoneware included. I'm thinking it's going to fit quite a bit better. And I'm locking the lid. So be very careful, especially if you have kids or small animals in the house. It'd be really easy to pinch a finger or a claw in there. Alright, so I'm going to be lifting it now. This is all the parts included. So this is the lid, the stoneware, and the crock pot itself. I'm going to be lifting and seeing how heavy it is. And it's got a nice heft to it. It's not super heavy. It's actually a lot better than I was expecting. This is including the small plastic piece that I still have attached here, so with that off, it'll be a little bit different. I would be willing to walk about a mile with this before I think I'd have to hand it off to someone. On this plastic piece on the lid, the little handle here, it says do not lift or carry unit by lid handle. My fingers are really too wide, my hands are too big to fit under here comfortably, so that's not something that I generally have to worry about, but people with smaller fingers, smaller hands, different kinds of lifestyles, they would have to worry about this because the plastic is simply not strong enough to support all of this. You could very easily drop it, you know, and if you drop your crock pot, as I always say, drop your crock pot, lose your dinner. And now let's talk about how this would sit on your countertop. Something I'm noticing now as I'm looking at the level is that this is on a tripod. It's 3 grips on the bottom, as you can see that. So it's important to remember that it can tip this way, it can tip this way, and again, this way. Alright, so just to recap, I've gone over most of the features of the crock pot. Just to recap, it's the crock pot, the original slow cooker. It's the cook and carry model by Betty Crocker. Now this crock pot really exceeds my expectations. I was expecting it to be a very different kind of heft. In between takes there, I was stepping in and out of this, and it really held up well to the weight of my body. The other thing I liked about this was, as usual with these crock pot models from Betty Crocker, the stoneware fits in perfectly. Just like a glove, like a dream, it floats in there. Now let's talk about some cons. I was disappointed that they didn't have a better translation of the warning labels on the inside of the crock pot. For example, one word that doesn't make a lot of sense to me is I see over here heating surface in English. Looks like if I follow along with the words, it's translated to que du recipient, which might mean that you know, the surface is the recipient of the crock pot, something like that. Don't quote me. But it sounds like they're really doing something very different artistically with how these instructions are laid out. Still on cons, where it's important to keep in mind that this is a tripod crock pot. It tilts in 3 directions. It's something that can be really frustrating to people working on an incline, or if you're working in any kind of a surface that's, you know, you're expecting it to change shape or something like that. Now, something that I've done a couple of times to solve this problem is transforming a tripod crock pot into a flat bottom crock pot by simply sawing off these 3 nodules, removing them with an ordinary table saw and a little bit of elbow grease. Alright folks, thanks for tuning in again. This was a cold unboxing and review of the cook and carry model of the crock pot, the original slow cooker. Overall, I would rate this a high on the slow cooker chart because this was a great addition to my crock pot collection. There was a couple of safety concerns, so not perfect by any means, but this is going to serve you right. This is an exceptional product. I think that Betty Crocker should be proud. Thanks again.